Góðan daginn og velkomin í annan þátt af Íslensku fyrir útlendinga. Hi and welcome to another episode of Icelandic for Foreigners. Today we're going to be talking about the letters M and N in Icelandic. Let's start with the letter M. Okay, so what there is to know about the letter M. Ordinarily, it sounds just like the English M, and we don't really need to complicate it too much further. So let's take a look at some examples. The first one is máni, máni, þema, þema, um. So nothing terribly difficult there. The next thing to know is that it can be doubled, like many other consonants in Icelandic, and what that means is we're going to hold it longer. We're going to draw out the M sound when we see it written with two M's. So here are some examples. Amma, amma, and pay attention to how I hold the sound of the M longer. Amma. And the next one, skum, skum. So that one's not too difficult either. Just practice holding that M out for longer, even though it's a little bit unnatural. Now, the last thing to know about the letter M, and this is quite tricky for Americans, although it's not actually terribly difficult to do. It just takes some practice, and you have to kind of think about it a little bit. The rule is before the letters P and T, M becomes voiceless. And I'm going to explain what that means and how you do it. So voiceless means that your vocal cords aren't vibrating when you make this sound. So I'm going to teach you how to do it now. Put your lips together like you're going to say the letter M. But now, instead of making that sound, keep your lips together just like that, but simply breathe through your nose. So it's more of a... It should feel like you're just breathing straight through your nose, but your lips are still together. Now, here are some examples of what that sounds like. So instead of saying stimpla, we're going to say stimpla. And that M is going to be breathed out through our nose. Stimpla. And the next one, instead of saying skemta, we're going to say skemta. Skemta. So we're making that M sound with our lips, but we're just breathing out through our nose. So compare these two words. The top one, which is followed by a D, is not going to have a voiceless M. It's going to have a regular M. Skemti. Skemti. But the next one, because it's followed by the T, we're going to have a voiceless M. Skemti. Skemti. Like that. I know that feels very odd, but it actually goes a long way into making you sound more like a native Icelander, because Icelanders will do this, unless you live in some of the northern and western parts of Iceland, where they don't do this the same way. But the majority of Icelanders will make this distinction. All right, the next letter is the letter N. This one's slightly more complicated than the letter M, but we'll start out with the easy rules. The first rule is, ordinarily it sounds just like the English N. So here are some examples. Nei, nei, which means no. Máni, máni, and loan, loan. So nothing terribly difficult there. The next rule, just like with M, is it can be doubled. So when you see two N's written next to each other, we're going to draw out that N sound. So here are some examples. The word kenna, kenna, which means to teach, and the word men, men, which means men. The next rule is N, like M, can be voiceless, which means we're going to do the same sort of process to create this sound as we did with the voiceless M. We're going to make the N sound in our mouth, n, 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 but now we're going to just breathe it out through our nose. Now, you're probably thinking this sounds just like the voiceless M, and for the most part it does. Hearing the distinction for Icelanders is mainly seeing your actual face when your lips are together, and that sound is coming out through your nose, then it's the voiceless M. And there are also some things that it might do to the vowel sounds around it, but you don't need to worry about that. Just make the N sound, but breathe it out through your nose. So here's some examples. First of all, whenever you have the HN combination. So here are two examples. The first one is the word for knife. Instead of saying nýfur, we're going to say hnífur, hnífur. If it's helpful for you, try just saying a h and then a n after each other. Hnífur, hnífur, and you'll be on the right track. But that N, it's breathed out through your nose. Hnífur. And the next one, hnútur, hnútur. I know that one feels really tricky. That one will probably take a little bit of practice. The next rule is the N can be voiceless before the letters K and T. So here are some examples. The first one is flinkur, flinkur, and henta, henta. So go ahead and compare these two words. One is written with an ND and one with an NT. So that one on top, we're going to pronounce a normal N, henta, henta. But the one below, because it's followed by a T, we're going to make a voiceless N, henta, henta. So practice that a couple of times. That one will be tricky as well. Okay, the next case where it might be voiceless is at the end of a word when the letter before it is an ed, f, g, kau, pie, r, s, or tie. Now don't worry too much about memorizing that list of letters, as that'll be too much brain power. It's better just to look at some examples. Now you'll know that the N is voiceless when it occurs at the end of a word and the combination of letters at the end just looks impossible. You don't know where the N will fit in. That's usually a clue that the N at the end will be voiceless. So take a look at that first one. Öiden, öiden. The N is voiceless at the end. Rap, rap. Now don't just drop the N out completely. You still have to make that sound. It's just not going to be a normal N sound. It's going to be the voiceless N, breathed out through your nose. But it's still very important that you make that sound. Rap. The next one, eik, eik. Sok, sok. Vop, vop. The next one is pronounced but, or bar, bar. Reist, reist. And vat, vat. But it should be noted, whereas the word vat has a voiceless N at the end, if we add the suffix ed to make it the water instead of just water, then the N is going to be pronounced like a normal N again because it's not at the end of the word. Vatnið, vatnið. All right, the last thing to know about the letter N is when a double N follows one of these combinations, the au, a, I, o, u, then we're going to insert a T before the N sound. And sometimes that also means that we're going to pronounce the N as a voiceless N. So take a look at these examples. The first word, instead of saying seina, which is what we maybe intuitively think, we're going to say setna, and we're going to put a T in there, setna. And in the next one, instead of saying spaun, we're going to say spout, spout. And that N is also going to become voiceless because it's at the end of a word. The next one, eight, eight. Feet, feet. Þjónn, þjónn. And brut, brut. Alright, that's it for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. After I finish these pronunciation videos, I'm going to be coming out with videos relating to grammar and phrases. Don't feel too overwhelmed by this video. Just choose a couple rules that you want to work on from now on. And when you've got those down, you can come back and rewatch the video and try to incorporate any other rules when you've had more practice. Thanks for watching. See you next time.